have here? 8 glazed buttermilk. Yeah, we definitely gonna do the glaze. Let's put those down here. Yeah, let's get to it. Papoose. You're on the menu. Let's go.
Curtis Jack, that's what came to mind soon as I heard the track. Ugly ass G-Unit sneakers, had the shirt to match.
Okay, hold up, Pap. We know you can rap, but let's be fair. You're not the style icon to be talking about ugly G-Unit sneakers because you had the t-shirt with the nines, the Gingo Green. This was the worst. This was the worst fashion brand ever, nigga. Let's not talk fashion. Okay, play the rest.
Mad cause Diddy hit your chick. You a jerk for that.
You abandoned my child for months. I'm sorry, for days at a time. Knowing she had to go to school the next day. Knowing I had to go to work the next day. So she wanna get up for you and say, oh, you don't have a job. Knowing my daughter had to go to school, you stayed out with the lane. You stayed out with the lane.
Things took another strange turn when a clip started circulating that sounded like a chant straight out of a diss anthem. The voice kept repeating the same energy over and over, almost like a taunt aimed at the opponent. The message was simple but loud. Oh boy, you lose. The whole vibe sounded like someone mocking their rival while telling them that if they're going to rap about something, they should at least tell the truth. It was a kind of chant that tries to turn a diss into a moment people repeat online. The lyrics kept poking fun at the opponent's bars, basically saying all those complicated words didn't really mean anything in the end. Whoever delivered the chant was clearly trying to clown their rival's credibility and skill. There were also shots thrown about personal life, appearance, and relationships. The whole thing felt less like a traditional diss record and more like someone roasting their opponent while turning the insult into a catchy hook. At one point, the chant even switched focus toward a rival's personal life, throwing shade about relationships and trying to paint them as weak in comparison. The delivery was playful but still aggressive enough to keep the feud alive. Lines suggested the opponent looked rough, talked tough only online, and didn't really move the same way in real life. It was basically a lyrical roast disguised as a repetitive anthem. Then the chant kept circling back to the same message again. Oh, boy, you lose. The hook repeated like a chant meant to stick in people's heads. Whoever put the track together clearly wanted that phrase to become the part everyone remembered. That's usually how diss records go viral online. One simple line that fans start repeating everywhere. At another point, the lyrics shifted toward mocking the opponent's lifestyle and music career. The chant joked about them rapping the car and not really having a major platform. It even suggested their partner was carrying more weight than they were in life. The whole tone stayed sarcastic, almost like someone laughing while delivering the insults. The hook returned once again, repeating the same taunt about losing and telling the opponent to tell the truth if they were going to rap about the situation. By that point, it sounded less like a normal diss and more like a meme turned into music. The repetition made it clear the goal wasn't just lyrical warfare. It was about creating a moment people would keep sharing online. Now, shifting back to the bigger situation, the drama surrounding T.I. has been getting louder again. Recently, he's been appearing in interviews where he seems to suggest that he never really started this entire situation in the first place. That claim immediately caught people's attention, because if you've been following the story for a while, you know there's a lot of history behind it. During one interview, the conversation turned toward the idea of a Rzoo's battle involving 50 Cent. The discussion hinted at the long-running idea that the two artists might eventually face off in that format. But the way T.I. explained things made it sound like the whole topic wasn't really coming from him. According to his version of events, the situation has been misunderstood. However, when people online started looking back at older clips and statements, the timeline began to raise questions. Over the years, there have been multiple moments where T.I. publicly talked about wanting that battle to happen. Fans immediately started pulling up those receipts again. Old interviews, social media posts, and podcast conversations began circulating online all over again. Because of that, critics quickly started accusing him of doing what they call classic gaslighting. In other words, they believe he's trying to rewrite how the situation originally started. Instead of owning the back and forth, some people think he's now acting like the conflict appeared out of nowhere. That's the argument a lot of social media users have been making lately. Meanwhile, Papoose decided to jump back into conversation as well. This time, he dropped another diss aimed toward 50 Cent, and the track even included a reference to Eminem. The name drop instantly caught attention because bringing Eminem into the discussion adds another layer of tension to the situation. At the same time, T.I. has been explaining his perspective in interviews, saying the real issue started when he spoke openly about what actually happened behind the scenes regarding that Verzuz idea. According to him, some people didn't like hearing his version of the truth, and when they heard it, they allegedly reacted emotionally rather than simply brushing the situation off. He went on to say that whenever certain people hear facts they don't like, they start reacting emotionally instead of responding calmly. In his view, the backlash he's been receiving comes from people who don't want to hear that version of the story. That's how he explained the tension that has been building around the situation lately. But as soon as those interview clips started circulating online, the internet immediately began buzzing again. Some people said the drama feels like it keeps repeating the same arguments over and over. Others said the feud has now reached a point where it's more entertaining than serious. Still, the conversation exploded across social media once again. It didn't take long for 50 Cent to respond either. Just hours later, he posted comments that many people interpreted as another jab aimed right back at T.I. That reaction quickly sparked one of the most chaotic debates social media has seen in a while. Fans, bloggers, and commentators all jumped into the conversation. Clips of heated debates and arguments started circulating everywhere. In some of those discussions, people were yelling, interrupting each other, and accusing one another of being emotional about the situation. The arguments themselves became part of the entertainment, spreading across different platforms. And in the middle of all that chaos, the same question kept coming up again and again. Did T.I. really start this entire situation years ago by repeatedly calling out 50 Cent for that Verzuz moment? Or is the story more complicated than that? That's the debate fans keep having online. The internet also noticed another contradiction. Recently, T.I. said that 50 Cent was acting emotionally in his responses. But not long before that, there were clips where T.I. himself was calling other people emotional during his own reactions. As soon as those two moments were compared side by side, social media users quickly pointed out the irony. Old clips began spreading rapidly again. In those videos, T.I. could be seen passionately talking about the situation, raising his voice and challenging others publicly. Because of that, some commenters started joking that things around him have been looking messy lately. Those jokes only added more fuel to the online discussion. Eventually, the conversation swung right back to the main argument, the claim that T.I. didn't start this whole feud. But a lot of people online simply aren't buying that explanation. They keep pointing to the history of public comments and challenges directed toward 50 Cent over the years. Some fans even shared old clips showing T.I. openly pushing the idea of a Verzuz battle in the past. According to those viewers, the timing of those statements also raised eyebrows. Around the same period in 2020, when Verzuz battles were becoming extremely popular, that challenge seemed to appear again. Another detail people started talking about involved album sales numbers from that time. When T.I. released a project that reportedly moved around 23,000 units in its first week, some critics online began connecting dots. They suggested that the renewed Verzuz talk might have been connected to that moment. During one interview, T.I. explained that he had only been back actively focusing on rap for a few weeks before all this chaos erupted again. According to him, everything escalated very quickly. He said that before the drama started, he had simply been enjoying life, shopping for yachts and looking at vacation homes. He described the whole situation as unfortunate because, in his view, the original idea behind those Verzuz battles was supposed to bring positivity to hip-hop culture. Instead, he believes the concept somehow turned negative and created unnecessary conflict. That's the explanation he gave during his recent comments. To be fair, a lot of people watching the situation say they're actually fans of T.I. and respect his contributions to hip-hop. The real question they're raising right now isn't about his legacy. It's about the way he's been handling this particular situation since the drama began. And online users are clearly starting to lose patience with the back-and-forth explanations. Critics are now saying the story seems to change every time T.I. speaks about the situation. According to them, the pattern looks familiar, They claim he sparks the tension, then later flips the narrative and acts like he's the one being targeted. That accusation alone has kept the internet talking. Every new interview brings another round of reactions, and people keep asking the same question. Is the story shifting, or is the situation just being misunderstood? During one discussion, the topic even turned into a debate about whether T.I. is someone who starts conflicts or simply responds when challenged. When asked directly if he considers himself a bully, he quickly denied it. According to him, he doesn't start fights and doesn't go around looking for problems. Instead, he said he usually steps in only after someone else turns the situation into an issue. That explanation sounded reasonable to some listeners, but others online weren't fully convinced. The conversation kept circling around the same point. Critics argue that sometimes it looks like he's the aggressor in these situations, but from his perspective, he said that only happens after he feels pushed or provoked. In other words, he claims the aggressive energy people see is actually a reaction rather than the starting point. That difference in interpretation is exactly what's fueling the debate online right now. At the same time, T.I. also describes situations where people defend themselves from a position of strength. He used the example of how public figures sometimes get criticized even when they're simply responding to attacks. In his explanation, someone can look like the aggressor while actually defending their position. That's the argument he's been making in several recent interviews while discussing the feud. But while he was calling 50 Cent the instigator and describing his reactions as emotional, that claim alone triggered another wave of social media responses. Many people immediately pushed back on that idea. Some asked how exactly 50 Cent was being emotional in the situation. Others argued the opposite, saying the more intense reactions actually seemed to be coming from the T.I. side of the conversation. According to critics watching the drama unfold, things escalated quickly once family members started entering the discussion. That's usually the point where online feuds start getting messy. Once relatives and personal relationships get mentioned, the situation tends to spiral far beyond the original argument. And that appears to be exactly what happened here. One person who has kept popping up in the middle of the drama is King Harris. He's been active online, reacting to different comments and posts connected to the feud. Fans notice he continued throwing subtle shots and referencing 50 Cent's famous song Candy Shop in his posts. Those references only kept the conversation alive across social media. Meanwhile, Papoose also jumped back into the spotlight with another diss aimed toward 50 Cent. The lyrics included several aggressive lines, mocking 50's past situations and throwing personal insults. At certain points, he even referenced old rumors, relationships, and industry gossip that people have talked about online for years. The diss track also leaned into conspiracy jokes and exaggerated insults, something battle rap has always been known for. Lines referencing secret societies and past industry drama were clearly meant to provoke reactions. That's usually how diss records work. They combine humor, exaggeration, and personal attacks to get attention from listeners. But what made people raise their eyebrows even more was the timing. Around the same period, T.I. had been saying in interviews that he actually told the younger generation to calm things down after the merchandise controversy involving the shirts. According to him, that moment was supposed to signal the end of the escalation. Because of that, critics immediately started asking a bigger question. If the message was really about slowing things down, why does the drama keep getting louder every week? Each new interview seems to bring another round of debate, and some online observers say the explanations are starting to sound like constant backtracking. At this stage, many fans say the entire situation feels like a broken record. 50 Cent has mentioned multiple times that he'd rather be left alone and focus on his own projects. Yet the conversation keeps resurfacing again and again. Every time things start to quiet down, another clip, interview, or diss track brings the drama right back. Another problem for T.I. is something the internet never forgets. Old videos and interviews from years ago are now resurfacing online. In several of those clips, he can be seen publicly calling out 50 Cent for a Verzuz battle. Some of those moments go all the way back to around 2020, when Verzuz battles were dominating social media conversations. Those clips are now circulating again, and fans are using them as evidence that the tension didn't appear out of nowhere. According to those viewers, the back and forth actually has a long history that many people might have forgotten until recently. For some hip-hop fans, the situation even brings back memories of another rivalry involving 50 Cent and Jay-Z. When 50 started taking shots again during the 2020s, some people connected it to rumors that Jay-Z had once tried to keep him from performing at the Super Bowl halftime show. That story has been debated heavily online, but it definitely revived discussion about their old tension. Now another layer has been added to the current drama, because Papoose dropped yet another diss aimed at 50 Cent. In that track, he even mentioned Eminem and flipped the beat from Many Men, Wish Death. That move instantly sparked arguments among hip-hop fans across social media platforms. But once the joke settled down for a moment, many listeners started noticing a pattern when it comes to dissing 50 Cent. A lot of the tracks and podcast rants seem to recycle the same insults again and again. The same topics, the same jokes, and the same angles keep appearing in different forms. Fans pointed out that similar comments had already surfaced from Fabulous in the past. Then Jim Jones mentioned related ideas during a podcast discussion. Now Papoose jumped in with nearly identical talking points. That's why many listeners are asking a simple question. If the goal is really to take down 50 Cent, why do so many diss tracks sound like remixes of the same script? The same insults, the same jokes, and the same stories keep repeating. According to fans, the formula never seems to change. When Papoose brought Eminem into the conversation by suggesting he helped launch 50 Cent's career, some fans were confused by that line. After all, 50 Cent himself has openly acknowledged that partnership many times. In fact, it's widely known that Eminem helped introduce him to Dr. Dre, which played a huge role in his rise to fame. Because that history is already public knowledge, critics question how mentioning it could really function as a diss. If anything, some listeners said it sounded more like repeating information everyone already knew. Then when Papoose referenced one of 50 Cent's past relationships that ended more than a decade ago, some fans said that actually proved another point. They believe artists often dig up old personal stories because they don't have new angles to attack. The conversation didn't stop there either. Soon people online began bringing up Papoose's own relationship drama involving Remy Ma. That opened the door for even more jokes and criticism across social media timelines. Some users even posted comments telling him to sit this one out entirely. And things only got louder after 50 Cent fired back, because his response immediately pushed the internet into another wild debate. Once 50 Cent's post started circulating, social media exploded with reactions. Fans flooded the comments arguing about who was actually winning the back and forth. Some said 50 barely needed to say anything because the situation itself was already turning into entertainment. Others pointed out that this is exactly how 50 Cent has always handled these moments. Instead of releasing long explanations, he drops one short response, lets it go viral, and then watches the internet argue about it for days. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened again here. While the debate continued online, Papoose started getting roasted across timelines, with many users saying the diss track created more jokes than actual damage. Some people even argued that bringing Eminem into the discussion only made the conversation bigger than it needed to be. Now the debate keeps rolling, with fans divided between defending their favorite artists and asking the same question again. Who actually started this entire mess in the first place? Then 50 Cent jumped back in with a short message that instantly set social media on fire. He brushed the whole situation off by saying he wouldn't respond to rappers who can't write a hit record. After that, he added a laughing emoji and kept moving, tossing in one last jab calling the opponent Short Bar Shorty. That one short post was enough to send the internet into another argument. Soon even supporters of Jay-Z began jumping into the conversation, claiming they were defending Papoose. But a lot of observers noticed something interesting about that reaction. It didn't always look like people defending Papoose. Sometimes it felt more like longtime critics of 50 Cent taking another opportunity to go after him. One commenter even asked when the last hit record 50 Cent actually wrote was. That question quickly turned into another debate, because fans immediately started listing his later successes. For example, his Project Cannon tape included the hit I'm the Man. Even though he hasn't released albums consistently in recent years, he still appeared on major songs like The Woo with Pop Smoke and Remember the Name alongside Eminem and Ed Sheeran. Those records weren't just popular in the United States either, Many of them charted internationally as well. Soon the conversation turned into a full numbers debate with fans comparing statistics and certifications. Some users also pointed out that many of 50 Cent's certifications haven't been updated for years. Even so, he still ranks among the most successful artists in terms of hit records in the United States. And to be clear, this entire discussion isn't about attacking Papoose personally. The debate simply turned into fans comparing careers and statistics while defending their favorite artists. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and drop your thoughts in the comments about this situation. Share the video so more hip-hop fans can join the conversation. And if you want to help the channel grow even more, don't forget to hit the hype button as well. Thanks for the support.